Okay, awesome, you guys. So how did that go? Good. Yeah, that repetition is really key as far as figuring out where hand positioning is going to be best, as well as communicating with your team. You know, you may think that this is a little bit difficult as far as communications go. Imagine instructing a whole group of 5 people who have not had this training. So getting this practice in while you can is definitely going to be really helpful. Yeah, so generally anything that's going to get in your way, take it off. Absolutely. And we'll talk about helmet and backpack removal in just a second. But as far as hats, sunglasses, if they're going to impede your ability to smoothly roll the person, get it off, right? So let's upgrade this as far as being a little bit more preemptive before we roll the person. What would make that extrication of the patient a lot easier? Yeah, tarp, exactly. You guys are so wise. Awesome. So if I could have a patient come on down, go face down, full crime scene, all kinds of crumpled. Okay, now I'm gonna have someone come on in and decrumple my patient while me and Jake are gonna get this ready. Okay, so what we're doing here in the background, as you can see, is that we're going to pull this taut and then start rolling the tarp in towards the center, okay? That's good. Okay, so now we've gotten our patient kind of decrumpled. Reverse chicken wing, I love it. Now I'm gonna have you pop out of the way here, Kevin. Awesome. Now I'm gonna slide this in towards my patient. Now this is gonna help me as far as environmental management goes. We'll see a lot of reasons why the tarp is helpful. Now something to understand, where do I want all this extra slack? Generally the tarp is gonna be a lot larger than my patient. Do I want it up top or down low?
Down low.
Down low, why?
Because you're probably going to grab it from up top and they'll slide.
That's a possibility. Hopefully they're not doing too much sliding here. But if I have all of this material down at the bottom, I'm gonna be able to utilize that for packaging, versus up there, I'm always going to have to manage my patient's airway, always have to have that exposed. So I want that extra material where it's not gonna get in my way and I can actually use it. Now, I'm gonna take this tarp and I'm gonna tuck it in as close to the person as I possibly can. Now, why did we roll the tarp? Yeah, so once it'll be a great handle, absolutely. But when I roll my patient over, now they're gonna be in the center of the tarp. So now what I'll do is I'll have 3 people come on in and be on the side of the patient like they're gonna do that log roll. So which way are you rolling the patient? Onto the tarp, exactly. We're gonna need one more person to come on and rescue, and you'll slide on up.
Hands in position, so lead position, shoulder, hips, hips, knees, and then knee, ankle, crossing at the junction with your partner. On the count of 3, we're gonna slowly roll the patient towards you, onto their back into a supine position. Is anyone not ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so now we're able to bring this patient into an anatomical position. The person on the head here, do they let go? No, once we put on spinal precautions, we're not gonna allow their head to just be free floating, right? So that person kind of lives in this position now. Now that I've rolled my tarp, well, I have a couple things here. If you wanna step back a little bit, you guys. If I have a really sunny environment, I can use this as a shade. If I'm dealing with inclement weather or a lot of precipitation, I can expect that and then roll them in onto, you know, maybe a third of the tarp rather than half, so I can use it to manage my patient. And we'll talk about a little bit more of that later, but right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna use it as an extrication tool. So I'm gonna need someone to come in and help me just a little bit. Now we're gonna unroll this side just a slight bit, and then we'll tuck this in, and now I'm gonna have 2 people come on in here and roll that into the patient. Now I'm gonna have someone else come on in and pull that in tight. And then we're gonna start rolling this in towards the patient. So if it's easier for you guys, completely unroll it. Sure, yeah. So completely unroll it, and then now kind of trap the feet. Sorry, I left you all alone here, Ramona. Now we're gonna roll this in towards the patient. What we can do here is have the patients kind of be mummy style, cross the arms so they're not getting in the way. If the patient doesn't have muscle tone, we can do a light bind just to keep those out of the way while we're moving the patient. Now we want this roll to be as tight as possible and as close into the person. Why? Yeah, exactly. This becomes like an improvised backboard. The closer we are into, you know, almost being underneath our patient here, it becomes really rigid. Now I'm gonna have, let's see, I'm gonna need 1, 2, 3 more people to come on in on either side. You can have your patient tuck the legs in, just like you can tip his toes towards each other so that you can be rolled in towards your patient. Nice. Okay, so now you guys are gonna line in on either side. Okay, so you're grabbing like that, great. Now, do you want to grab with an underhand or an overhand? Overhand, why? Yeah, so if I'm grabbing something like this, I'm engaging about 6 muscles. If I'm grabbing like this, I'm engaging about 20, and I'm not gonna get fatigued as quickly. Something also to keep in mind that as you're lifting, you're gonna have the instinct to start to pull your arms upwards, relax them down so you are utilizing all those muscles. Now, before you guys stand up with the patient, everybody let go and stand up. Now, what do we want to think about here?
Height.
Same time.
Yes, so height as well as strength. Where do we want the tallest, strongest people? Yeah, up towards the head. The torso is going to be the majority of the weight, so we want the stronger, taller people to be at the head. So we're gonna rearrange like that, okay? Now, you guys can go ahead, get into that kneeling position next to your patient. So you have that overhand grip. What we're gonna do now is upgrade it, because you wanna distribute that support as best you can, right? So you guys are actually going to cross your hands over each other.
So again, shoulder, hip, hip, knee, knee, ankle. The hand positions are always going to be the same, and then you're going to cross over with the rescuer beside you.
Now everybody come in close so you can see this. If my rescuers here were to lift up, what would happen? Yeah, the head would start to be cranked upwards, so you want this to even be further past the shoulder. Now, as the person on the head, they're going to be doing what? Stabilizing, calling off. Absolutely. Something to keep in mind is that this position has a strong tendency for the head to go into the chest because you're lifting and it really is fairly heavy. What you want to, sorry.
That's all right. So a couple of mentions on the head. So the position that I'm in right now is what we refer to as the terminal position. Why? Because I can lay here forever and not get fatigued, okay? Now, if I'm going to move, what are the rules of my hands when I move? I drop them down. So I drop my hands flat and I'm wedging underneath the head with my pinkies. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up. This is what we call the 5-minute position, because I can sit in this position for about 5 minutes before I get uncomfortable, okay? Now, to get to the ready position, I'm gonna wedge my hands again. Now, when I come up, what I'm then going to do is I'm gonna lock my elbows into my knees, okay, as such, and then I'm gonna lock the hands back onto the head. Now, when we pick up, my elbows are gonna drop below the head before I can stand up. So my elbows, I'm gonna allow you folks to pick the patient up, and my elbows are gonna drop below the patient's head, and then I'm likely not gonna stand upright all the way. I'm gonna be squatting, okay? And the reason is that if my elbows are above the head, I'm likely to bring the chin to chest. And that's the most dangerous. If you're holding somebody's head, that's the most dangerous position to put them in. You compromise the airway, and if there's a cervical injury, you will definitely light them up, okay? So now when we pick up, what is important to recognize is that you folks are extremely strong in compared to my movement. So I need you to move slowly, deliberately, and together, keeping the patient on a level platform and coming to a standing height with the patient, keeping them level, okay? Now, is anyone not ready? Excellent, all right? And you can see that you can get back into this position where you can now lock your back and you can get your knees over top of the patient even and get in close, which ultimately makes the patient lighter, okay? The closer you can get the weight to you, the less effort you will put into the process. Now, on the count of 3, anyone not ready? Count of 3, slow standing height. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and you're noticing here that in order for me to maintain the head in the proper neutral position, I have to be low, okay? And don't get me wrong, I could pull it off, but the problem is my tendency is to put the chin to chest. So I just stay low. Now, which direction are we gonna move? Feet first.
Toward the feet.
Exactly. If you had to move towards me, what do we need?
Spotter.
We need a spotter in order to, and that spotter has contact with me, meaning they put a hand on me, okay? And they let me know what the pacing is, okay? So let's actually move backwards first with a spotter, okay? We're gonna move towards me nice and slow. Anyone not ready? You're gonna shuffle, don't cross your feet. It'll take a minute to get the pacing. 1, 2, 3, shuffle. Excellent, excellent.
Stop. We have a
Oh, hence we've got a spotter for a reason, okay? Okay, excellent. Now let's actually go towards the feet. Okay, moving, moving, moving. Excellent. Now, let's do a pivot to my right. So the feet are going to carousel around. So we're gonna pivot. Okay, all right. And now let's go to the floor. Count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Excellent. And then my elbows go to the ground. If you're, the only time your elbows are off the ground, you're in ready position and getting ready to pick up. And the elbows in that situation are locked into your knees. And then when we pick up, I'm still gonna keep my elbows underneath that patient, okay?
So as you were setting up the group, lift strongest up toward the torso. If you take somebody that is smaller in stature,